Welcome to the Helm Developer Community Call for Thursday, March 28th, 2019. I'll go ahead and share the agenda into chat here. The way we normally go about this, for anybody who's listening or doesn't know, is we normally go through any announcements. Then we have the core developers do a stand up, and then anybody else who's got something to share, they can stand up. Then we go into our discussion, and then we have our assignments for the week of who's going to do what over the course of the next week. And the announcements, I've got one announcement here. There is the Cloud Native Day in Montreal, Canada, and they are looking for Helm speakers, somebody who can go there and speak on Helm. I think there's actually money if you are one of the ambassador speakers, and I know there's a couple of Helm folks who are that. And so they're looking for folks. I dropped in a link into the announcements to where if you're interested, you can go apply or get involved. So does anybody else have an announcement?
Yeah, the program committee form for Helm Summit is, I'm going to drop the link in the chat and I'll put it in the agenda as well, but it's open until tomorrow. So if you have not applied and you want to be in the program committee for Helm Summit EU, please apply by tomorrow, and we'll let you know in a few weeks. I think by April 5th. Yeah, April 5th is the notification date. And just an update on the venue, the dates that we wanted, which are September 11th and 12th in Amsterdam, are available. There was another group that was holding the venue on the dates that we wanted. So they released the venue. So now we have the well, we almost have the venue. We are we have said yes, we want it, and so that has gone out, and I'm excited. So it's moving along, I promise. And Karen's doing a great job, and the CNCF are doing a great job of figuring all the logistics out. So that's the update on Helm Summit.
Sweet. Any other announcements? Going once, going twice, going three times. Fantastic. Now we go into stand-ups. And since Michelle, you're unmuted and you're doing such a wonderful job, I'll pass it off to you first.
Oh, man. Okay, so I've been, like, not around a lot, but today, I'll be very honest, today started regaining context on Helm test. I did make a few decisions, like there's a results subcommand, which allows you to get Helm test results. And I just threw that out because that's like, there's a lot of decisions that we have to make, and we don't need that for alpha. So threw that out. I'm working on making test functionality actually work, because it doesn't right now. And also exploring whether we can use jobs instead of just pods for tests. So that's where I am right now. I'll pass it off to Brian.
Sure. Yeah. So yesterday I was, for the last few weeks, I've been focusing on building out the Go Lua standard libraries. Yesterday we had a pretty long talk about path forward and integration with Helm. And over the last 2 weeks, Adam and I have synced a little bit on the integration. And as far as the Go Lua implementation goes, the last large remaining piece that is the standard libraries are critically dependent upon are the APIs for managing metatables, which is going to play a huge role in how we expose Helm types, chart types, resources types into the Go Lua VM. So that's why I've been really in a rabbit hole trying to figure out the most Go idiomatic, intuitive way to manipulate Go values within the Lua VM. So this morning I actually feel like I've kind of settled on what I think will be a decent approach. It'll feel intuitive to people. And I have a little bit more implementation to do around that, but I'm shooting for releasing this implementation of Go Lua by probably mid next week. So that's what I've been up to. I'll pass it to Fisher.
Yeah, so this last week, since the last dev call, so I booked travel over to KubeCon Barcelona, so I'll be there. So Adam and I are going to be doing the deep dive talk over there. We're slated in for scheduling for that. And then as well, I'm also pairing with Michelle on the intro talk. So, whoop, whoop. So that happened. And then I was also so Research Friday is kind of like a thing that we have over here, which is like 20% time. And one of the things that I was interested in doing was taking a look at Ian Hell's PR, which was the JSON schema stuff. So I got a little bit more familiar with JSON schema, how you define references, and how you can basically decompose JSON schemas into other schemas. So really interesting design. So I played around with that, and I was able to go through Ian's PR pretty extensively and play with that. So that was good. The rest of the week has really been about kind of looking at the some of the architecture that we have inside of Helm 3, or not Helm 3, in Helm, and just trying to think about that in terms of Helm 3. So I've been working on just some stuff over here, like the plugin architecture, poking around and playing with that, and different pieces here and there. So that has been my week. I will pass that off to Butcher.
I've been on vacation since this time last week. Well, since Thursday evening of last week, and I got back last night. So I have been blissfully detached from my computer for the last 7 days. So I'll be catching up on things over the rest of today and kind of figuring out what's going on. Taylor.
Hi, everyone. I've had a bit of a busy week with some outages that happened and moving into my new house. So yay, new house. But anyway, today I just barely finished and pushed, and I'm going to open a PR soon, switching out, unfortunately, things to Go modules. And so that will be coming up soon. There's some things I had to do to get around the awkwardness that is Go modules. So people have to let me know if they have a better idea about how to get around some of them. Otherwise, I think the review should be fairly smooth. And then I'm going to finally get around to a PR that I need to review, and then I'll see if I can do some more PRs next week. But as I said, had an outage I had to deal with this week, so I might be dealing with a little bit of fallout and get a little slow on the PRs. But that's all I did. Let's see. I think everyone else went, right? Adam, did you go?
Nikhil and
Oh,
Adam.
Nikhil's there. Sorry, I forgot to scroll over. Nikhil, go ahead.
No worries. I've been away last week as well, but this week should have more time to look into issues and PRs and the such. So we'll work on that this week. Also wanted to look into some of the Helm 3 Lua stuff. So I haven't had a chance to do that yet. So we'll take a little bit of a look into that this week as well. Anyone else left? Adam? There we go.
Yeah, been doing some prep for KubeCon. Like Fisher said, we're going to be doing the advanced deep dive session. Also, just trying to stay on top of PR reviews and working on some of the architecture around making sure we have everything working correctly, switching to a client-side architecture with handling stuff like interrupts and stuff like that.
All right. Is there anybody else? Martin, did you have something you wanted to share?
Yeah, so I was AWOL enough to grade for last week because I suffered a personal loss in my life. So just plugging in this week. So I'll just try and get my head around things again and see how that goes.
All right. Is there anyone else to give a stand up? All right, then I'll give mine real quick. So I did a PR on Go modules earlier in the week, and I've been talking to Adam and Matt Fisher about it. It's somewhere up there. But I did that conversion to Go modules, and Adam playing around with that actually found issues and things with Go modules itself. And so we're kind of letting it go. Kubernetes itself is switching to Go modules. The KEP just went in and they're starting work on it, mostly because they want it working by Kubernetes 1.15 or 1.16, which may make some of our stuff with pulling in Kubernetes easier, hopefully, the way we vendor it. But that's some of the work that we need to look into. It actually turns out, here's one really neat thing. Overusing GoDAP to Go modules, if you're going to go update the vendor directory, because you can do that with Go modules, so use a vendor directory, it has a significant performance improvement. Huge, massive performance improvement for Kubernetes. So hopefully there's some nice stuff there. But that's some of the stuff that
Did we accidentally cross over stuff here?
Yeah, totally.
I guess it's not a good distributor.
Before Matt Farina opened that PR, I had a working branch that switched to Go modules also. So we have three branches.
Yeah. Well, I know mine builds and tests right.
Same here. Mine's a passing PR.
But
looks good to me then. Go ahead.
So
fine. I can close my PR if you want me to.
I don't really care, as long as Adam brought up an excellent point on the Go modules part. Just to sidebar on that, we need to see how it works with the Kubernetes updates, because Go modules assumes you're always going to be SemVer compliant, and Kubernetes Go API is not SemVer compliant. And so what does it mean for us with that, and how do we handle Kubernetes in that capacity? That's the one thing we got to make sure that we nail. Yeah, that's it. All right. With that, we move.
Real quick, just to finish on that, just I talked to Farina about this the other day, but I had requested that we just let that PR like kind of simmer for a little bit and allow people to test it, just until we fully understand, at least all the core people, what that impact means for development, and so we can be sure to debug stuff when it comes.
So we should only have like one PR then, right? We already have a PR up?
Yeah.
Which one is it? Because then I can just close
that one up there.
What?
Farina has one up there.
Farina has one up. Okay.
In the chat, there's pull request 5520.
That's mine.
That's
that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
And I had
one. I'm gonna close mine. Actually, can you just put a comment in and close my pull request? I don't want to confuse people and end up with schizophrenia. So if you can just like copy it over.
And on the bright side, mine is passing tests where yours isn't.
I know. I just saw that. Which means I changed something in the Circle CI file it didn't like. But anyway.
Here's a quick question. Did you do it on... Oh, you did it on Helm Master. So you did it for Helm 2, and I did it for Helm v3. And that may be one of the differences. I didn't touch Helm v2. So ours is 2 different versions of Helm. So that's something we may want to ferret out, is which version of Helm do we want to go switch to Go modules and which not? Because mine's for Helm v3 and yours is for Helm v2.
A PR battle royale.
Well, no, I don't care. They would need to go in separately. So do we want to switch it for Helm v2?
If people really want it, I can keep it up for Helm v2 and keep debugging stuff. But I mean, it feels like Helm v3 is a good place to start with it instead of backporting it on people.
Yeah. So
unless people are really requesting it, I think we might want to just leave it.
Okay, I'm going to close it with a funny comment.
And for what it's worth, Go modules can import glide lock files, is what it'll import from. So Go modules.
Yeah, I did that. It's actually fairly nice. I was kind of surprised because every other interaction with it has been rather rough. So that was really nice.
Mm-hmm. All right. So with that, I think we can move on to the discussion. And we've got 3 discussion things. The first one is make docs target still relevant? And it references a pull request 5458. Go ahead and drop the pull request in here. Is make docs still relevant?
So quick background context on this, and I know Martin put this up. So Martin, if you want to jump in and talk about this, go right ahead. But as far as I understand, so this PR was there was some documentation that was missing from the Helm. I think it was the CMD. It's basically the auto-generated documentation that's generated off the Helm help. And I know we've had issues with this in terms of contributing issues in the past, as in like people who make changes to Helm help need to have a Helm development environment set up in order if they want to make amendments to the documentation, or vice versa. And so Adam had introduced, or you had introduced a PR or a commit into the dev v3 branch that basically removed most of the generated documentation inside of there. And I was under the impression that that was actually a nice thing, because I thought that it would make it easier for people to contribute to the documentation without having to have a development environment set up to do a make docs in order to auto-generate that section anytime. So I thought that was an intentional change. But with that change, that basically makes the make docs target moot.
Just because there's a make target on there that isn't run by CI or something doesn't mean it's not valuable.
Okay.
So if you still want the documentation, then you can just run the make target. I had just removed the auto-generated files just because when doing changes, a lot of people were hitting the issue of not running the generator for the docs. So the only thing I did was git ignore that directory and just left the make targets on there in case you wanted to build the docs there.
Okay, so the intention is that we want to keep it there so then users can generate the documentation if we want to, but we're not expecting to commit that to the dev v3 branch anymore. Is that right?
No, I removed the auto-generated docs from being checked into version control.
Okay. Because the PR in question 5458 that Martin's working on, what was it exactly that it was?
It was so in a roundabout way, make docs was, so I was, whatever PR I was doing one day, I ran make docs and make docs was broken. So I went to fix make docs, and then Matt Fisher came in and said, oh, look at this commit. As Matt explained there, this is no longer applicable. So then it was, oh, all right, make docs is no longer applicable. Let's remove it. So that's kind of, we've all come in from different angles. And I suppose what we're trying to figure out is what should the PR become, and I can just make the relevant changes then.
So do we want to leave make docs in for now or not?
Personally, I don't care. I never use those docs, and I don't know how much value there is to them. So
we also have another issue somewhere. We want to take the doc site and pull it out, all the docs out of Helm, so it's easy to contribute to it and it's not so coupled to Helm. We're not doing that for Helm v2, but I'd love to get that for Helm v3 to have something like, I don't know, Gitbook or something like that, a nice doc site that's generated and separate so people can get things that's not so coupled to it.
I mean, you can generate them by running like Helm docs, I think, or just run the subcommand. It's just hidden from Helm help, but the subcommand is there. So if you want to generate docs just straight from the Helm CLI, you can do that as well.
Oh, nice.
Maybe we'll take it offline because I'm still slightly confused what way we want to go. But let me bounce it maybe tomorrow or this evening or tomorrow, and we can see where we want to go now, because I don't want to hold up the whole call. Okay.
Okay. Thanks. No, that's a good one to bring up. All right. The next one we have is Lua and Helm v3 and Go Lua. This is mine. So if you go look at Go Lua, and I'll drop the link into the project here. There has not been a commit to it in 3 months. And if you look, the pull requests and issues have not been responded to and are entirely stagnant. The project, while here we're working on Lua, the project just looks like there's no activity going on and no response or engagement with anybody. Like, you know, when I saw that it wasn't where it was at, I thought, ooh, I can go help contribute and get it in motion. And then I realized that even if I did a pull request, no one's going to respond to it. And so I consider that a risk because, quite frankly, Lua in Helm is kind of a risk for the project. There are a lot of people who are calling it into question. And so when we do Lua in Helm, we've got to pull this off pretty darn well. Because if not, we're going to get a lot of vocal voices against us in doing it. And right now I'm looking at the project we're talking about using to bring Lua in because we wanted Lua 5.3 and most folks are implementing Lua 5.1 or 5.2 and we want Lua 5.3. And I'm looking at this going, how can we depend on this? How can we actually meet our deadlines and get going? And how can we engage with it? And to me, this is a risk of a red flag. And so I wanted to bring this up and say, how do we go about handling this so we can get things done in time? Maybe we have to pull Lua out from Helm v3 and bring it in a minor release. Maybe we just pull it out altogether. Maybe we use a different project. Maybe there's a way to resurrect this to get it into good, healthy shape so that it is something we can use as a dependency. But I wanted to engage that conversation to say, how do we help make this successful so that way Helm v3 can be successful? So that's kind of where I'm approaching it, but it looks like it's got no activity. Mr. Fisher, you got a hand raised.
Yeah. So as you know from like what Brian has mentioned before, so Brian is currently working on the Go Lua stuff. So one of the big things that are in there that you notice inside the Go Lua project in master right now is that it works. The problem with it right now is that it depends on the Lua C compiler to actually do the compilation of the assembly so that it can actually go to the runtime. So what Brian's been working on recently has been like pulling out the Lua compiler, and then he's working on the standard library just to make sure that we can actually use it for Helm itself. So that work has currently been going on, and I think we should have something more final like in the next coming weeks or whatever. And then as well, so Adam and Brian have also been working on top of that, have been working together to do the development work for integrating it with Helm. So there's that been work as well been going on. So it kind of has been talked about in stand-up here and there, but the thing that I do want to point up or do want to raise that you have pointed out, which is the risk towards the alpha and like slagging off the release and doing that thing. And I think that is a very reasonable risk, and that is something that we should be considering about. So the first thing that I do want to point out is that for the alpha, the only thing that we really want to do for the alpha was the major like removing of tiller. It wasn't necessarily like Helm or Lua being in there. Lua is more like an advanced use case of charts. It's not necessarily something that we're like looking to make that the thing. It's just an added feature for advanced chart users who want to not use the template engine. So in terms of the V3 planning process and going through that, we're mostly interested in just getting the release out and getting people testing that. So if it's not able to work, so if Adam and Brian, or if we're trying to work and get that together and we can't get that in for the alpha, then we'll cut the alpha without Lua. And we can release it either in a next alpha or we can release it as something else.
Can we get the work for this? And I mean, so I heard multiple things. I heard there's the Lua compiler, and I heard there's standard library changes. Those seem like two independent things. Why aren't there pull requests and things like that going up when some of this work is completed?
I can take accountability on that. I haven't been completely as open about it. It's because I'm learning Lua as I go, building the full stack, the compiler and the VM in 7 months. So, I mean, I had my process that I typically would have used for spiking out like any other type of project that wasn't a compiler would have been much more iterative. But like this API, I basically was doing a ton of research on how to make an API that's scalable for Helm. Standard libraries are meant to be used as the reference implementation of how to add new libraries, new modules to the Lua VM. And that's all shifting as I learn more about Lua. Like I'm studying Lua and building this as I go, and it's just complicated.
Okay, because the way it's looking to me, right? Because I mean, there's issues and pull requests that are up there that no one's responded to in months, and it looks like it's like if I wanted to come in and say help with some of this, I can't, right? And nobody else can on the internet because it's just not being developed in an open way. Which that's one of the reasons I look at it as a risk to the project because it's all on you, and that means other people can't help you make Lua be successful, and that to me is a risk.
It's my highest priority in the next week to get this open for collaboration so that I can. I just wanted it. I wanted to be in at a point where I felt confident in that the APIs weren't going to be as volatile. The Go Lua implementation that currently exists was really spiked as a measure to see if it was possible if we can use Lua long term and if we can build these APIs the way we imagine a Go Lua VM looking in Go. But it is I'm in the next week I'm going to push all the code and just get it released. But like I said before, my like current workflow is just a little bit sloppier trying to manage the time frame. Okay. So I do apologize to everybody here, but I'll work to rectify that in the next week.
Yeah, I mean, I've had folks from the CNCF come talk to me about us engaging Lua and how we do it because they're nervous about what it means for Helm. And when I see that, like even things like Josh put up a logo a while ago and not even be able to get that pull request merged because nobody's on top of this stuff. And this is what we're going to depend on. This all seems like an overall project risk. And then there's the rest of us who work on Helm who have an inability to help mitigate that risk. And that is the issue for me here. And that's the reason I'm bringing it up. And so I really want to make sure we're able to, I mean, you're a single point of failure at the moment on this. If something happens to you, what do we do? Right? And
but
that's
I'm also
the kind
a single point of success.
Yeah, but if you win the lottery and quit and go, we're all screwed.
That won't happen.
That's a nice way to say this.
Here, I think like it's a really good thing to point this out, Matt, and we should be, working towards like open collaboration. And I think like things have been heard. So like, I agree. I've also heard that Brian's going to put out a branch and put that code out. So I feel like this is going towards a direction like. Okay. We need to work on an open and collaborative process in all parts of the projects.
Perfect. All right. That's all I really wanted to drive home to make sure. I'm going to continue to pay attention to this and make sure we get this moving. All right. Unfortunately, because we've talked a lot, there are the last few bug fixes needed for Helm 214. Fisher put this up. Are these the last few bug fixes that need to be done for 214?
I'm not 100% sure if those ones are the only ones that need to be in there for 214, but some of them are either bug fixes or they're significant features that will fix and unblock users in certain scenarios where they're caught behind a corner. So if someone could take a look at those, one of them actually is a really good bug fix that I can't remember his first name. Mortent is his GitHub handle. And it's basically a way that we're waiting for the CRDs to reach an established state inside of package QB, because we can get into a race condition where we create a CRD, but we don't wait for its established state for creating CRs, or the other way around, CRD. So that one's a good one. There's another PR that is a little bit of more of a destructive behavior. That one needs a lot more testing, I think, just to make sure that we're not missing any edge cases or deleting resources from the Kubernetes cluster, but we don't want to. And then the last one, I can't remember. The PR that was the -- atomic flag hard-coded and enabled the wait flag, even though the atomic flag require
it does, because if it needs to know if it fails or not. If you're not waiting, it just installs and doesn't wait for a failed state. You need wait for atomic to work. That's why I let that stay there, because I knew it. I actually was going to question. I was like, wait, no, you need that, because how can you auto roll back if you have no signal?
So Taylor, can you go comment on that one and provide some insight in the issue? So it's not just on the call, it's recorded in the.
Yeah, can you link that one to me? Actually, no, it's in the doc, right?
It's all in the doc. All three of them are in the doc. Folks, yeah, can you go review the 3 open PRs here if you've got some bandwidth this week? And I would ask Taylor, because you've got insight onto this one, if you could do that as well. All right, then we are already over by 3 minutes, so we need to get into assignments. Issue Sherpa for the next week. Who's up for it?
I can take a stab at that.
All right, moderator for next week.
I can take up moderation for next week.
And notes. Anyone for notes?
I can do notes.
Thank you, Martin. All right, folks. Thank you for a wonderful meeting. Thanks for playing, everyone. Have a wonderful week, and we'll be back here next week. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.